Now, my wife, who I really love, especially because she'll do things like, call bullshit on me. I was talking about some of this stuff with her. She said, well, you're always saying how, we should have respect for the rule of law and no one should be above the law. And isn't that what this misguided policeman down in South Carolina is indeed trying to do, prove that nobody is above the law? Well, the first thing is I have absolutely no respect for our drug policies because they make no sense, especially as regarding marijuana. I mean, you want to look at a comparison to alcohol. It's clear, absolutely clear, that marijuana is more physically and emotionally impairing than alcohol. And people don't really even get into the emotional side of it. They would say, well, it's physically impairing. Stoners can't, drive a car or anything. I'll talk about that a bit later. But, I mean, the emotional aspects, I think, of it are really, really troubling. I mean, how many fights have you ever seen break out between pot smokers? I mean, it just doesn't really generally happen. I mean, it tends to make you a lot calmer, you're not interested in getting fights. You're much more interested in, examining the back of your hand. And even compared to something like cigarettes, which is much more physically harmful, much more addictive. I mean, marijuana. I mean, there are people who say that it's psychologically addictive. I mean, it's fairly clear that it's not physically addictive. By psychologically addictive, I guess they're saying that people try it and like it and want to use it again. And one thing I wanted to point out too, I am going to put a link to this. It's a very old article. It's kind of hard to read, especially if you have a certain browsers. But I mean, if you can, I think it's both interesting and at times even kind of hilarious. It's this report from Car and Driver in the 1980s, where they had a bunch of drivers smoke joints and then go through a obstacle course that they had set up, and they were just trying to figure out how much marijuana was going to impair them. And generally speaking, they found that the drivers' scores kept improving, meaning they got through the obstacle course more quickly as they smoked more dope. And most of them are talking about the biggest problem was just kind of remembering how to get back to the beginning of the course or missing the turnoff to get back to the test area, just forgetting about it. So I think it's actually a very, very revealing article. I actually remembered reading it in the 1980s. My dad got Car and Driver. He was a bit of a car head. And just in a more general sense, in terms of the rule of law, I think we have very interesting priorities about the rule of law, where we can't prosecute our leaders for war crimes such as torture and invading a country for no reason. But it's very important to bring a very famous and successful pot smoker to heel for his pot smoking. And I think this gets into my final point, that really what we're here fighting about is symbol wars. And Phelps is a very, very potent symbol, a dangerous one to people who are in the prison industrial complex, who are in this huge industry that's, grown up to take care of addiction and stuff. A lot of it court-ordered and required. Is that he's a symbol that you can be a highly successful, physically fit, reasonably intelligent, very disciplined human being and smoke pot. This is not something that anybody wants to have out there. Well, not any of the people I just mentioned, in the prison industrial complex and the want anybody to hear about. But the fact of the matter is that were it not for these heinous drug laws which cause people to hide their drug use, we would probably have tons of information, more information about people who were successful and who used marijuana. And other drugs for that matter. But I mean, just like a minor web search before this, and I'll post some more links to this kind of stuff, famous people. It's always fun to look at famous people who smoke pot. I mean, just here are some of the people that caught my eye of the list that I saw. Bill Gates, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Michael Bloomberg, there's a major hypocrite for you, Robert Louis Stevenson, Friedrich Nietzsche, Richard Feynman, Sir Richard Charles Nicholas Branson, he's the head of Virgin Group. He's worth about $6 billion. And Abraham Lincoln, who talked about how much he enjoyed smoking from his hemp pipe and playing his Hohner harmonica. uh, I thought that was one of the more hilarious quotations I've ever read. But anyway, that's basically my thoughts on this whole situation. And I'm just really, really disturbed by this whole Michael Phelps thing and about how this guy is being brought to heel. More relevantly, all the poor kids who were in his sphere just happen to be in that picture, who are now being, dragged through the mud and made afraid, and because of our stupid, ignorant feelings about marijuana and other drugs. But hey, you can always feel free to argue. This is Zach Elliott. Have a good day, everyone.